Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Zilliqa podcast. Today I have James with me. James is the co-founder of Xangle, and today we are going to talk to him more about Xangle and crypto disclosures and some more interesting things. So James, thanks for coming on our podcast, and it would be great if you can, share some background about you and how you started with Xangle. To just set things off so that the audience gets some more, background.
Great. Well, thanks for having me here for the first time, and good to meet everyone. I'm James Kim, as introduced, one of the co-founders of Xangle, which is the global disclosure platform for crypto assets. Before I started this business, I used to work as a managing director of a venture capital for one of the largest tech company family office in Korea. And there I was, when it comes to, I did a lot of startup and investments there, but when it comes to blockchain, I was involved in acquiring exchanges in 2017 and early 2018. So my major deals I experienced was acquiring Corbit, which is Korea's first crypto exchange, and also the subsidiary of the other company that I stayed, also acquired Bitstamp in Europe. So those were the deals. And I also manage the crypto fund up to a scalable size. And that's when I felt I needed some more information in order to make investments as an institutional level investor. However, I saw a lot of interesting services and platform who were saying are building Bloomberg and everything, but I thought the major trust was what was missing, and that trust was missing because of the lack of information, which gave a lot of thoughts and made a lot of projects suffer from wrong informations, and a lot of investors didn't were not able to have confidence and keep up with how their investment was going. So yeah, that's how I got involved. And yeah, here I am.
So Zangle is from what I can see on the website, and I sort of have heard about Zangle
Mhm.
since for the past few months as well, and I hear about it
Mhm.
from some exchange or something as well. So,
Mhm.
can you give an overview on what the product exactly does, and what's your business model and what problem basically that you solve?
Yes. I will start from the information system of traditional equity in stock markets. So if you just, for a simple comparison, if you look into U.S. equity markets, there are private companies, and they prepare, as they grow, they prepare IPO, and they go public in public exchanges. Private investors invest through venture capitals or angel investors and to the company in private markets. But however, when the company goes public, the company does not know who their investors are. It's traded in public markets. And at the same time, investors also do not have a very intimate relationship with the company they invest into. So that's why when the company trading goes public, the information also goes public as well. And that is Edgar, which is run by SEC in the US equity markets. Similarly, all these services exist. In Korea, there's a system called DART, and Japan, Edinet, Europe, ESMA, and all these similar disclosure platforms exist in different respective markets on their own. Uh, so that was what I thought was missing in the market. So if you look at crypto assets, you don't need government approval to be listed in exchanges. However, the trading goes from private to public as they get listed. However, public investors usually do not have direct contact to the project teams, and they don't know what's happening after they made investments. So they usually don't know what's happening, and they lose confidence, and they usually end up losing their money or suffer in uncertainty because of that. And that's why we think these kind of information asymmetry creates a right downward graph for a lot of projects. So that's why I mean it's a public disclosure platform. So all the project teams who are willing to disclose their information based on our system, we provide the system for free. And they would be able to create their project's own profile page, curate it, and also keep up with the updates with our disclosure service that we provide. We usually go through a validation of the project's information. So we just make sure whatever information on our platform is certified and validated by our research analysts. So that's what we're doing for the project teams. And as for now, when the disclosures are shown on our website, on our platform, those are distributed to multiple exchanges through API in a service as Ticker. So in Korea, Bitsum, and Corbit, GoPax, and many other exchanges use Ticker. So in the trading page or main website, you'll be able to see major updates of token information displayed for retail investors directly. So not just the price charts, but also major updates and information of the projects are shown to retail investors to keep them interested and have them updated. Similarly, we are working similar progresses in Japan, and I think we will have progress pretty soon. And also, we have other partners in India as well. So Unicoin is also using our ticker system to provide more transparency for the investors who are trading through their platform. And we also, because we have a lot of information in our platform, we also do auditing for the project teams, and we provide very neutral and objective ratings as well for retailers to use, and also for exchange listing teams or research teams to use it as a reference when they're making their final calls.
Hmm. Gotcha, gotcha. So users like see these updates, like say for example, if a project sends you some update and your analyst and your team verifies that okay, this update is true,
Mhm.
and then you share that with your partners, which are mostly exchanges,
Mhm.
and the users see that update through the exchange itself, right?
Exactly. So
Gotcha,
uh,
gotcha.
those are the most frequently viewed channel, but it's also, of course, shown on our app and on our website, and also distributed to multiple Telegram chats and communities who are willing to pass over the information to their readers.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you're basically you also have a credibility system, right? Like that I saw on the website where you give a credibility rating to projects. So how does that
Mhm.
work? And yeah, can you share some example as well that
Yeah,
yeah, that would be
yeah.
beneficial.
So first, we started this because there was demand from three sides of the market. First, are retail investors. Even if you look into traditional stock market, when retailers invest into a specific company, most of them do not understand financial statements. They don't read all the details of the company. So they need a comprehensive, but very centralized analysis for them to understand. So that's why we started providing very simplified form grades of projects for people to understand what they're investing into, what are the ups and downs, what are the risks and strengths of the projects. So, but our approach was because these early token projects, we view them as early tech project teams and tech startups in a way. So we took a venture capital approach into it. So we look at their team, whether they have the capability to carry out what they wrote in their white paper. We look into their team structure. We look into their business models and major business progress as well. If they were able to achieve their milestones they promised and also look into their legal statements and other smart contract auditing results in order to create a 360 integrated overview of the project's teams, and we give some ideas into it. So that's how it started, but it was used. The other two pillars was project teams were doing very good. Were not able to really send out the message who were not even confident of their progress, because if they say they're doing good, most of the investors say that's what you say. So we took an objective approach of assessing into the progress. The third is even big exchanges who have their listing teams and research teams didn't have capabilities to take review so many projects at the same time. So that's why we are assisting the listing teams of our partner exchanges, which are we are coped with around 60 global exchanges at this point, and providing them a reference document of our auditing and credibility report for them to start reviewing the ones after they're confident about.
Gotcha, gotcha. I think what you're doing is super interesting, and these are like we need projects like Xangle to, I guess, get more institutional adoption as well in crypto, which is coming this year. But in general, like if you were comparing things with a disclosure in the equity
Mhm.
markets, how are like things different in crypto if you compare it to those? To equity markets, and what are the challenges in crypto in terms of projects? I think there's definitely a lot of like crypto goes through a lot of hype cycles, and I guess there are a lot of, you could say, low quality projects as well that come up especially during bull runs, and they are quite, they are more focused on marketing and stuff. So yeah. So how do you deal with those sort of projects, and in general as well, what are the challenges of working in crypto disclosure?
Yeah, so I think the largest difference with traditional equity market is traditional equity market uh, is specific country based, and it's regulated by their legal system. So it's enforced to disclose the information for most of the companies, and if they don't, they get their penalties. But if you look into the international market, let's say even if there's a criminal in a specific country, but flees to another country, the another country does not have any enforcements to send that person back to the country. So what I'm saying is international level legal enforcements based on a specific country does not work. So, but crypto asset is global from the beginning. You don't issue it within a specific country boundary, which means the regulation, if there needs to be a regulation that you expect to work, it has to come from a global level, which never market approach. Like, S&P is a company. They do ratings for companies, and let's say a specific company in Korea uh, who got who were trying to get rated from S&P, they don't have to submit financial statements. However, they do it because if they don't, they will get bad grades because of the transparency issue, and then that will increase their financial costs and also lose a lot of faith from the market. So they do it. So I think these kind of market mechanisms is what controls the international finance market. So we took a similar approach in crypto as well. So if a project submit information to us, which they don't have to, but we give them benefits by distributing to most of the exchange channels and community channels we have for free. But we have standards. We tell them we will review and validate and ask for specific proofs for the information they submit if they want to be distributed that far. So interestingly, most of the good projects feel confident in sharing information. They even are more than willing to share more information to us. However, but most of the somewhat shady projects try to stay away. And in the Asia market, at least, there has been some movements coming from the community that relies on the projects disclosure that are disclosed through our platform. And also there are exchanges who are working directly with us, delivering the message and trying to align the market. But like you said, in this market, there's still a lot of hypes that drives the market. And even if there's good progress from the project teams, it sometimes does not really relate to the price movements. However, what I can assure you is that has changed a lot during the last 2 years, at least in Korea. And a lot of people are relying on information. And with good disclosures, the market movements are headed that way as well. So I'm not saying we have completed our journey with the mission that we're trying to achieve, but we have shown some progress and we will continue to strive that way in order to make the market a more trustworthy market and data driven and fact relied market.
Hmm. Gotcha. And also, like when say you are evaluating projects, like what sort of framework do you, use? Like, for example, in for a company, like you can look at say the revenue and how the growth has been, and the profits and losses and stuff. Like for evaluating like crypto projects, what are the things that you look at? You mentioned that team, maybe investors might be a good metric, users, or maybe funding and so on. Yeah, what metrics do you look at when evaluating crypto projects?
Yeah. So, yeah, as I briefly mentioned before, so we looked at we took crypto project teams as an early tech startups. So, in that viewpoint, if you're assessing a startup, an early phase project, even in normal companies with normal other services, you don't look into financial statements if you're going through a Series A or Series seed round or pre-A series, so which are young companies. So in the similar way, it took a 360 view. When venture capitalists looks into early projects who are at the stage of generating very small revenue or even before revenue generating stage, you look into their teams. You look into their capability of the founders. You look into their technical capability. You look into their business model. You look into the major proof and size of the community, and also check their legal statements, due diligence, in order to assure the team is okay from any acute accusations. But because it's a crypto asset and it is different from other startups, we also look into on-chain information as well. So we look at the token distribution, we look at the lockup conditions, and we look if the tokens are safe enough to be invested and see how much risk it is exposed to specific investors dumping or not. So in those ways, we took a 360 view and different from we don't do valuation of the company, so we evaluate the company. So we took certain grades to show if it's a project that is rather strong or it's a project you should keep very keen review on. And we, in that case, we tell them which topics are somewhat fragile for you to make decisions based on full understanding.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, Also, I saw that you have Xangle indices, right?
Mhm.
Indexes, or
Yeah, yeah,
sorry,
yeah. That's it.
and yeah. So, can you talk about that? Because I thought it was very interesting. I didn't. So there out in DeFi we have this DPI, for example, which is the DeFi Pulse Index. I thought, but you guys did it quite early.
Mhm.
So can you talk about that and like who is the target
Yeah.
customer of that index?
It's targeting both retail and institutional investors, but just in somewhat different levels. So, in the traditional finance market, again, you have indices in order for people to reference as a benchmark in order to understand the overall market's uh, atmosphere. So DeFi Pulse, I think it's a very good benchmark for people to understand DeFi tokens in specific parts. But we provide analysis on different indices and categorize them for people to understand their different investments. So, but so let's say people want to invest in payment related DeFi tokens. People want to invest in insurance related DeFi token. But it's rather hard for people to find out which token is which and which tokens to trust. So we go through the analysis of tokens and we categorize them, weight them in order to make an index out of it. So people would be able to make very simple choices based on their preference, while they won't have to look deeper into every single token. So it's a very similar ETF before stage type of a way to give benchmark of different ideas of trade investments, making it easier for people to invest into. And similarly, there's a lot of movements in Asia as well. A lot of financial institutions are looking into this because they're trying to provide crypto services to retail as well. And we have been issuing some research reports with asset management and working with brokerage companies. And they are willing to use these kind of indices to share the information to their retail investors who do not have a high standing understanding of the market yet.
So one can buy that, buy these indices as well, or are they just
Uh, it's coming very soon. So we are working in a DeFi, another DeFi player in order to make a synthetic asset token out of it. So we have currently two index that we provide at this point. Blue chip index and also our credibility rated index. It has been showing a lot of high performance during the backtesting we have compared to just normal rating indices. So I think that would be able to launch in those synthetic asset exchanges within a month. So we'll be able to provide some ways for people to easily do some macro investments into the crypto market according to their preferences as well.
interesting? Interesting. Um, Also, your like many of your partners are in Korea, right?
Mhm,
And like I think you are also based in Korea. So many of our audience is actually in not in Korea. So but they are quite interested to know like what's happening with Korea and in general. Like when you look at the Korean crypto market,
mhm,
how do you think it's different from the other crypto market, or is it
mhm,
there are obviously similarities and differences, but how do you think it's different from say Europe or US?
mhm. Well, uh, to just highlight the major characteristics of so-called Korean retail investors. I think that's the key to understand. Key point on trying to understand the market is Korean retail investors are very aggressive in investments, and they're really taking high risks as well. So just comparing the Korean equity derivatives market uh, back in 2011 and 12, before the regulators killed the market, the equity derivatives futures and option trading volume was global number one. Comparing the market size, it's ridiculous how volatile the market was. And I think that comes from the retail investors backing up the institutional investors because that's making a lot of liquidity in the market. So similarly, I think a lot of people around the world remember in 2017 when Bitcoin price was like skyrocketing back then. There was a word called kimchi premium as well. So, kimchi is our was our national food, and it spiked up to almost 48 to 50%, which means if you buy Bitcoin in Korean won back then, it was 50% more expensive than any place around the world, global average price, which means there was super high demand rushing in from retailers, giving a huge arbitrage opportunity for the foreign market. So that shows how fast the market moves. And Other than that, I think Korea is one of the most open market to altcoins as well, very highly traded and listed. So exchanges are still listing a lot of high portion of risky assets, but experimental assets as well, and people are willing to try it out as well. So in that case, I think Korea is also a very superb test bed in order to test out which assets are good or not, because we tend to invest very fast and move in pretty fast. And people are very high understanding in tech and interested in tech as well. So I think that gives a lot of environments as well. But even in the regulation scene, I wouldn't say Korea is moving fast. It's usually lagging behind other progressive countries who are actively engaging crypto in regulation. But March 25th, there will be some more guidelines which comes to effect regarding the AML and KYC issue, and that will bring the crypto into the sunlight, which in the regulated market. So I think Korea will take steps in order to move on with more legitimate ways to invest into crypto. And similarly, large banks have also announced they will be launching crypto-related services. So I think the expansion of outreach to within the Korea market, we will see a lot of movements within this year.
Okay, okay. Thank you for telling us about Korea. Also, this year has been, this year and in like you can say past few months, is has been about DeFi, and a lot of projects launching, and DeFi hitting DeFi coins going through the roof. Um, in general, in terms of disclosure, do you like track coins that are maybe not listed on centralized exchanges? On like, do you do disclosures and yeah, for say a coin that is just listed on decentralized exchanges?
Mhm. So yeah, so we add a lot of project profile based on an analysis in DEXs as well. So there's tons of new projects being generated and traded in multiple DEXs. We keep track of the volumes being traded. So if there's a meaningful volume coming up from a new DeFi token indexes, we look into it and create a profile page and have it curated for most of the other investors to get to know more about the projects. And we also carry out basic due diligence as well. And we also keep track of those tokens when they go to centralized exchanges as well, because that usually creates a boom and more market expansion for the DeFi token. So yes, we look into what tokens are being gaining popularity indexes, and also we also keep track of the movements from DEXs to CEXs as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, and have you seen like in terms of, you were talking about the market has changed a lot from 2017 and 18, and I agree. But in terms of like specifically for DeFi projects, like what how are the criteria same for measuring those projects? And also, what changes have you seen in the market that are major changes that you have seen in the past 2 3 years that that are quite positive for crypto?
So there has been a lot of changes in 2000 from overall from 2017 and now, and that is well in 2017 all people cared about just wanted a new project. They didn't care if it was scammy or not. They just wanted to know who invested in it, and that was pretty everything. And but now during the past few years, people started to care and pay attention to the fact itself. They're caring if where it came from, and they also try to validate. And a lot of retailers in a decentralized way are validating the information outside our platform as well. So projects started to care much more to actually make some more progress. And even when we see a lot of scams, we also recently published a scam report as well in our research. But even the projects who really didn't care anything about it back then, only cared about marketing and all these hypes, they started to at least care about marketing at least trying to pretend they are doing good. They didn't even do that during the past few years. So I still think there's a long way to go, of course, but projects are changing and they're trying caring more about the adoption. Because usually, if you had a good plan, that was it. But people now started to care. No matter how good the plan was, if nobody was using it and then nobody would buy the token, there would be no demand in token. Then the price would go down. So people started to ask teams not only about the prices, what they're doing, and what kind of progress they have in making business. So I think it's heading towards the right way. And even the better the project is, they care more about the adoptions. So these proof making tokens are something that's coming up as well. And we also see some reverse ICO cases coming from Korea as well. So trusted companies, not super big ones, but trusted companies with brand value are issuing tokens in order to try out something within their new environment and platform. And I think that's something that at least would outperform the existing tokens because they have some kind of ecosystem to apply the token system. And actually, those are showing some proofs as well.
That's super cool. Yeah, I guess we did cover quite a lot, James, and thanks for taking the time out for
Mhm.
the podcast. And I wish you the best
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
your roadmap, and hopefully we
Uh,
can catch up soon again sometime.
yeah. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.